bit of a bandwidth problem, so he won't be showing his face, but we promise you it is the same person. As always, you can leave questions in the chat, and then I will record them and ask him later on. Okay, Tafadzo, you can take it away. Tafadzo, are you online? Okay, there he is. Okay, so Tafadzo, I've introduced you. You can just take it away.
Okay, cool. So I just want to quickly share my screen.
Oh, no, it's fine. Rabia's sharing it for you.
Cool. So with that, right, I need to be showing some stuff from my computer.
Okay. So do you prefer Rabia sharing it, or you want to share the whole thing, and then maybe Rabia could just stop sharing and you could show from your side?
I think me sharing the whole thing. I think it's now, the connection is now better.
Okay. So
Okay.
Rabia, it's fine. You can stop.
Cool.
Cool. Cool. Is my screen visible now?
Just giving it a moment.
Okay.
There we go.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, good day everyone. My name is Tafadzo Musa. I'll be taking you guys for project management today. So that being said, the agenda of the webinar, firstly, I'll start by explaining who Tafadzo Musa is and what I'm all about. Then I'll dwell into what project management is. Then I'll talk about useful features which we use in the field of project management. After that, we'll look at some cool project management softwares which we use in the field of project management. Then I'll integrate scientific writing management in the field of project management. Then lastly, we'll look at the importance of monitoring and evaluation in the field of project management. So I see that still people being admitted into the class, but because we're recording the class, they'll be able to watch the video afterwards. So personally, when I introduce myself, I like to use LinkedIn. I don't know if you guys attended the last webinar on CV writing, but she reiterated the importance of having a brand as a person. So personally, I like to use LinkedIn to explain myself and express where I come from, etc. So I'm just going to shortly log in profile so that everyone can see it. So while that is loading, so my name is Tafazo Musa. Currently, I'm working as a project management facilitator for CTU Training Solution. I work 100% online, so I don't have to go to any campus. I visit companies here and there when we have a corporate training whereby I'm needed at a corporate. So usually I'm just 100% home. Then my second job, I'm also what is known as a information specialist. So I leverage the power of AI to come up with business solutions for businesses using AI. So yeah, so I leverage the power of AI to come up with business solutions. So that is my second job, which is also 100% work from home. So like enough, I have two salaries. Then with regards to academic qualification, I hold a Bachelor of Management in Information Systems, Economics, as well as Management from Rhodes University, as well as a PGCE from Rhodes University as well. So those are certifications. Two certifications. I have a Scrum Master certificate as well as a CompTIA Plus. So those are my qualification and experience. So Jenny, while I was studying, from my second year, I started working. So from my second year, I started working on average 2 to 3 jobs. So I self-funded my education from when I was second year. So that is one nice thing to know about me. Married to an oceanographer, so I know a bit about science. Yeah, so that's
Uh,
Tafazo Muza in a nutshell. Yes,
Tafadzwa, your presentation has disappeared.
my slides.
Yeah,
Okay, is my audio okay?
yeah. Like we can see the Microsoft Teams. So if you just go into PowerPoint again.
Okay, cool, no problem, no problem. Cool. So that was Tafazo Muza in a nutshell. In terms of experience, the coolest thing I've done is I worked on a Netflix production on penguins. So I filmed penguins for a good 9 months. So for 9 months, I would wake up in Simonstown and film penguins from like 3 a.m. to 7 p.m. So that's one of the coolest things I've done personally. So in order for people to understand a field, right, we always start with a definition. So the nice part about project management is that it is a versatile field which can be used in all organizations, in all fields, in all walks of life, whether it's your private life, whether it's your academic life or professional life. So that is one nice thing about project management. It is considered as science as well as an art subject. So the science part comes from the graphs which we do, mathematical measures, the hypothesis tests which are done in project management. Then the arts part comes from the soft skills which are required for you to become a good project manager. So your characteristics, your leadership style, how you document your stuff, etc. So that is the art stuff. So, by definition, project management is the process of planning, organizing, and guiding a project from start to finish. So, in order for you to make sure that it gets done on time and within budget, as well as meeting all the goals and objectives of a project. So, the important part is It has a start and a finish time. So if there's no start and finish time, it's not a project. There's a budget aligned to it, and there's cost as well as schedule aligned to it. So in science, project management helps you break down complex research into manageable, chewable, smaller tasks. So as much as your research is researching how whales travel from, let's say, Cape Town to Brazil, right? They probably take a good year and stuff. You break it down to smaller tasks which you do on a day-to-day basis. So setting timelines as well as coordinating with team members is a good aspect of project management. So in project, if you have any question, if anyone has a question, please let me know. If anyone has a question, let me know, and I'll stop and explain anything. So that is the definition of project management. Then every project has a life cycle. So projects have a life cycle, just like a human. You start from your parents, you spend 9 months in a womb, then you get born, you become a toddler, teenager, adult, uh, old person, and you die. So projects also have a life cycle. So every project starts from initiation, whereby you define the project goals as well as objectives of the project. So that's the initiation part. Then after you've done the defining and the objectives, the vision, and the goals of a project, you move on to planning a project. So let's say you want to do research. You're an early researcher. You have a cool idea. You want to research the impact of mosquitoes on the ecosystem, right? You have an idea. You start with an idea, then you expand that idea into a vision, into a goal. What do you want to achieve after that? Then you put it on paper. So that's the initiation part. Then after that, you now do what is known as project planning. That's you now outlining and estimating budgets and plans for resource management. Um, Science is cool, science is nice. You guys go out, you do research, you do all sorts of stuff. But from experience, you know that the equipment which you use is very expensive. You know that the scientific processes which you do have a timeline. So resources are required. So that's when you plan for your resources, whether it's human resources, whether it's actual equipment which you want to use on your voyage or on your scientific experiment or any other project which you have. So after that, whilst you're planning, that's when you answer the what and how and when you're going to plan your project. What are we doing? How are we going to go about doing it? And when are we going to start and end? So that's the project planning phase. Then after the project planning phase, we do what is known as project execution. You are done with the planning, now you execute the project. So during execution, you monitor project status. um, the people who have been employed now do their work. You monitor KPIs, you pay salaries, you hire resources, you buy resources, etc. So that's now you actually doing the project. So if we use the example of us measuring the impact of mosquitoes in the ecosystem, now you have scientists who have experience in that. You have labor assistants. You have maybe a controlled environment which you would have built in order for you to actually see how mosquitoes will act or react, etc. Right? So that's the execution part. Then after you've executed, the project is now running properly. The wheels, the gears are now in motion. You do what is known as project monitoring and control. So now you keep records of the results, you track team performance, you track if your goals are being achieved, if you have cameras in place, if you're recording stuff, you start looking at the recordings of the executions to see that things are going well. As well as the budget aspect, you now look to make sure that the budget is going according to the project. So that is the project monitoring and control phase. So once you've managed to nail the monitoring and control, and you are done with the project, you do what is known as project closure. So with project closure, you now reflect on major wins and losses throughout the project, throughout the life cycle. You now sign off documents, you now have final results, you now have conclusions, etc. So depending on what you're doing, the life cycle is the same. So this project life cycle is the same. Different authors have one or two extra things, but the principle still remains the same. So when you're working on a project, um, whether it's an academic project, whether it's a professional project, you need to make sure that the life cycle is going according to plan, as well as making sure that you document every aspect of the project. Any questions so far? Cool. Apologies for rushing through stuff. This is a qualification which is usually spanning 1 to 6 years. So I just want us to mash everything into an hour. So throughout the year, I'll be going through every part of this and further explaining stuff. So don't stress if I'm rushing too much. It's just me trying to make you understand the main aspects of project management. So, why is project management important in the field of science? Why are we looking at project management? Why am I even here? And why am I talking about this? So, when you do your scientific work, when you do your work and stuff, you need to make sure that you keep research on track. Most people, because of lack of things like having a project scope or having detailed things written on paper, they tend to veer off. They tend to veer off the scope, which might be costly, which might lead into the project actually not meeting the deadlines. So it is important for you to keep track of what's going on with the project, as well as it helps improve team coordination. So in project management, we have a lot of we have a lot of meetings, we have a lot of descriptions, what each team member does, uh, the importance of each team member, when they're supposed to start things, the timelines, when they're supposed to end, etc. So if you have that in place, it helps improve team coordination because you know when the next person has to start what they have to start. You know, let's say with field research assistants, you know how many people you need, you know when they need to start, etc. So it helps improve team coordination. It maximizes resources. So if you have all your resources stated, documented properly, you know how many let's say how many Microsoft sorry, you know how many actual what do you guys use in the field of science? So you know how many things you have, right? You know how many resources you need. You know how much grant you'd want to run a project. Let's say you have to go to the marine islands and do a research for 3 months. If you have outlined all the nitty gritty resources you need, from a toilet paper up to the ship, up to all those cool instruments which you guys use, it's easy for you to put a figure on it because you have done quotations, you have done research. It's easy for you to get to get actual figures and apply for grant money. So it also helps reduce risks. So risk happens in any profession, right? Risk sometimes you can't avoid it, but as project managers, we work on identifying potential risks which might affect a project. As an example, today, I know that Teams gives me a problem once in a while. So I've literally have three types of Wi-Fi connections which are all acting up, but I try to mitigate risk a bit. So for you to mitigate risk, you need to be able to identify potential problems early on, like missing data, missing recording of mistakes in recording of data. Maybe someone is recording the data in a style which is not the one recommended in your project. Equipment failure, weather delays, etc. So if you identify those, you come up with measures to mitigate the risk. So it's always important to identify all the risks which come with your project, whether it's your thesis in fourth year, whether you're doing your degree, your 3-year degree, it's a project. Highlight the risk which you might face and the ways which you might mitigate those different types of risks. So it's always important to reduce risk as well as enhances communication. So, with proper documentation, status updates, and reporting, it makes it easy for different people in the organization to see what's going on, to keep track of what's going on, and to understand where they are. So, it helps with communication. Project management is a lot of administration, a lot of documenting things so that nothing is lost. It also boosts scientific outcomes. So sorry so projects that are well managed tend to produce better data, clear results, and more successful publications or outcomes. So if you manage your research properly, if you have all the documentation, if you kept every research paper, etc., you tend to get better marks or better outcomes because everything is well prepared, everything is well documented. So, from an earlier stage in your life, if you work on your project administration, your project documentation, it even makes it easier for you to get into the job environment and record and do whatever you're supposed to do. So, that is why project management is important in the field of science. Anyone with a question so far? Any additions? So we have defined project management. We've looked at
Tafadza,
project.
it's fine. We
Yeah.
can leave the questions for the end.
Okay, cool. No problem.
I'll make a note
So,
of them.
okay, cool. So we've defined what a project is. We've looked at the project management life cycle. We've looked at why project management is important. So with every project, there are stakeholders who are involved in every project. If you're studying your 3-year degree, the main important stakeholders are the people who are funding the degree, it's the university which you are part of, it's you as a person, right? Those are the three main stakeholders. If you move on to your honors, your masters, you have your professor as your main stakeholder. You have people who have granted the funding of that project as a main stakeholder. And with some research, you have to go out in the field and meet the community. So you have the community as a stakeholder on your research. So stakeholder are generally people or groups who are affected or interested or can influence your research. So this can include funders, supervisors and institutions, government bodies, communities, collaborators, team members, as well as policymakers. So all those people can influence or affect your research at any stage in life. So always have that in mind. Then why are these people important? They ensure that they support your funding, obviously. They improve the relevance of your research. So if your research is backed by, let's say, INJ as an example, if your research is backed by NRIF, it has more depth, it has more branding to it, and more people would actually take you seriously. So they help make your work relevant. It boosts collaboration. If you have if you're working with a couple of, let's say, professors, if you're doing research and you have hello.
No, it's still. Yep.
Cool. Sorry. So if you're working on research and you have two, am I, or it's people joining?
Yeah, it's just people joining.
Okay, cool. Sorry. The sound from my side will be a bit distracting, but no problem. Sorry about that. So yeah, so as I was saying, why is stakeholder management important to you as an early researcher, as a student, as an early profession, as a emeritus professor, etc. Right? So it ensures support and funding. It improves your relevance of your research. It boosts your collaboration. So if you have two or three professors working with you on your project, already you have casted a wider net. Even if you go into the professional world, if you mention your professor, if you mention the people who you have worked with, it boosts your collaboration, it boosts your credibility, etc. It also facilitates ethical research. So if you go to the relevant government boards, if you are compliant to the relevant ISOs, to the relevant international standards, it boosts your ethical research. So that is another important aspect of stakeholder management. It enhances impact and use of results. So if you have a good communication with the community which you are doing your research on, they are more likely to be receptive of what you're researching. They would either help you, they would give you pointers, they'll give you things to look at, things to consider, etc. So the more you are nice to your stakeholders, the more they actually use your research as well as your results, right? So it helps with that. It reduces conflicts as well. So if you know who to communicate to, who to consult, who to meet with if you're doing your project, it helps with conflict management. We have a situation where Amazon is coming to Cape Town. So Amazon headquarters are coming to Cape Town. They bought land from the municipality, which is apparently owned by um, a local ethnical group. So now they are going back and forth to court to try resolve that conflict. So better research, better understanding of who you're working with, and respecting the community will help even prevent things like that. You won't go through legal issues. You won't go through unnecessary strikes, people sabotaging your research, people sabotaging your work, etc. So it reduces conflicts. So now, the next thing which I'm going to look at, this is now under the art part of project management. This is quite important. I've added two links for you guys to look at the end of the presentation. I'll explain it when I go there. So, characteristics of a good project manager. So you might be the best scientist out there. You might be the best data analyst out there. You might be the best soccer player out there. But if you have a stinking attitude, if you're not able to work with a team, if you're not able to understand what you're doing, document the things which you do, budget, as well as understand schedules, etc., you end up either losing your job, losing the plot, or actually not being able to complete the required task at hand. So, as a good project manager, you need to be organized. That's the first point. You need to keep track of tasks, timelines, documents to ensure that nothing is missed. Then you also need to be a good communicator. So, this is achieved over time. Some people are born good communicators. Some of us had to get out of our cocoon and work on our communication skills. So you need to be a good communicator. You need to share clear updates with the team, stakeholders, and funders, both written and verbal. So send emails, send updates, call your stakeholders, set out meetings with them, etc., so that you provide good communication. You need to be a problem solver. So quality quickly you need sorry you need to quickly identify challenges, um, like missing data, lab delays, maybe a booking was done wrongly, and find a practical solution to the problem. Barack Obama had a speech when he was talking about this. The people who make it are the people who have solutions to a problem. We all have problems, we all can state problems, we all can complain about problems, but what are the solutions to that problem? So you need to be a problem solver. You need to be flexible and adaptive. Flexible in the sense that um, science doesn't always go as planned, right? You might go to the marine islands, you get there, the weather's terrible or whatever, or you get there and you wanted to do maybe research on hatchlings and there's no hatchlings yet. So you need to be flexible. Either you get there, do some other research whilst you're waiting for them to hatch, or if you see that you're going to spend more time there, come back instead of wasting more money and resources there. So you need to be flexible and adapt to situations. So by adapting to situations in this modern day and age, you need to be able to work with people from different ethnical groups. You need to understand that people have different points and perspectives. You need to be able to use programming tools as well as AI tools. So that is flexible and adaptive. Then you also need to be team orientated. So as much as you don't like people or people are not your um, cup of tea, people do exist. You need to be able to face them. So you need to find ways to keep the project on track and aligned and build team collaboration, team encouragement, um, have team building sessions if you guys are working in a team. If you're working in a department, go to the tea room, talk to the different people who work within your department, because you never know. One of them might actually be the person who's going to link you to your next opportunity, or you might end up working with them or needing to collaborate with them. So you need to be team orientated so that you can suss out opportunities, so that you can get things to help you grow. You also need to be detail orientated, a good time manager, ethical and professional, as well as tech savvy. So those are the characteristics of a good project manager. So we have gotten to the sciencey part of project management. We're going to look a bit into some of the stuff which we do, but we're not going to do hypothesis testing or any statistical testing in the next 20 minutes, right? So project management is been there since the start of time. Um, then what you're looking at in front of you is what is known as the Gantt chart. So the Gantt chart is the one of the first blueprints of project management. Initially it was initially drafted by Henry Gantt in the year 1910. So the Gantt chart, which you're looking at, specifically is used to outline the people working on the project. So it is the people working on the project. It is the task they are doing at a particular time frame. It is dates of the week, month, year, etc. Then it is progress of how far you are with the task. So it basically visualizes the whole project in one picture or in one screen. So that is the Gantt chart for you. It literally shows who on your team, who is part of your team, what are they working on, what tasks do they have, how far they are, and when are they going to end, as well as when the whole project is ending. So it shows tasks which are completed, remaining, and milestones achieved during the project. So that is the Gantt chart for you. Then, when it comes to those who are writing research right now, this is a simple mind map which you can use to kickstart your project. So you can have your essay plan, your introduction, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, etc. So this is the initiation of a project, which is a research paper or journal article, etc. So with this, I believe anyone here can read through this and understand it better. I don't need to dwell much into it. Then next thing which I'm going to look at is some project management tools. Some project management tools which we use. I'm going to look at one. Um, then shortly look at one. So here are some of the project management tools. They've evolved from the traditional Gantt chart, which was usually done on Excel, to applications which have better visual representation of the Gantt chart. So it's now the same Gantt chart, but in visual aspect. So if you're able to learn and understand one of these tools, it's easy for you to transition into the next two. So the most popular ones are Jira, which is used for agile planning. We have Monday.com and Trello. We have ClickUp. We have MS Word. Then we have Slack and Teams, which are used for communication. So with Jira, um, was developed by Atlassian University. So Jira was developed by a university. So they have a website where you can go and for Jira, see how the software works, as well as do courses. So if you go on Jira, if you go on the uh, Atlassian website, which is on my slides, you can see how these tools work. You can see how tasks are allocated, etc. Unfortunately, we don't have much time for this. Then the next thing which we're going to look at, so these are the tools which are used in project management. So they basically move the Gantt chart into an Excel, from Excel to cool apps and softwares. So project management tips in thesis context, sort your publication papers and readings, mind map each chapter, identify areas you may need to place more focus on, get a great reference to RefWorks, etc. Allocate a hard time towards tasks to avoid procrastination. So those are some tips. Then importance of monitoring and evaluation. So whilst you have executed your project, you now have to do monitoring and evaluation. So it is important to monitor and evaluate as it allows you to make improvements on the go, avoid making the same mistake twice. You keep a diary, keep records, keep your code tidy as well as your writing style tidy. You sense check yourself to see if you're still on track. So those are the importance of monitoring and evaluation. Then some careers which you can, some certifications which you can do in project management, as well as careers which they can get you into. So the first one, so all these points are hyperlinked, so you can go on the link and read this further. So the first certificate is Scrum certificate, comes from the Scrum from rugby. So in IT mostly we believe in working as a team. Hence we have a Scrum. It's a group of I think 5 people pushing one person forward or pushing the ball forward. So we work as a team. We tackle things as team. Then we have meetings to see how far each person um is on how far they are on with regards to the project. So that is the Scrum certificate. The link is here. You can click on it and you can see further what the certificate entails. Then we have PMP, Project Management Certificate, which is the PhD of project management. If you have this qualification, it's recognized all over the world. It will get you and open more doors, just like the Scrum. Then we have what is known as the CAMP and CompTIA project certificates. CompTIA project is the cheapest here. I think it's 2,400 to do the certificate. It's a multiple choice certificate. You study for it and you go right at the center. Um, CAMP as well is a multiple choice certificate. Then we have Lean and Six Sigma, which is used for efficiency as well as quality management. So Lean and Six Sigma, if you go on the website, if you go on their website, I just want to quickly go on their website. They start off with a free, there it is. So if you go on the Six Sigma certificate, they start off with a small free course which you can do to understand project management. Then you can move on to do other courses. So you can it's based on the karate system. So the first certificate is free. They have a free online certificate which you can do, which is 6 hours. Then after that, you move on to the yellow belt. Um, then you move on to the green belt. Then after the green belt, you move on to the black belt. So it's based on the karate system, hence the belts. So that's the Lean Six Sigma certificate. Then we have ISBTQ, which provides software testing certificate. Software testing is a big profession. There's a lot of people who are working online doing software testing. So you can do software testing in a pharmaceutical setup, in any company which does software. So you can literally do software testing. You don't need to have programming background, but you just have to understand a bit of programming. So those are the certificates in software testing. Um, most of them are multiple choice questions. Then you can start as an immediate software tester. You can be a product software tester. You can be a test management software tester. So this is quite a big profession. Startup salaries are usually around 15 to 30,000. Then you can get, when you're a professional, 60 to 100,000, depending on what company you're working on. Some of my friends work for American and European countries and European companies and are based here. So that's the ISBTQ certificate. Then bonus tips, bonus tips for you guys. Have a LinkedIn presence. Volunteering in small project is important. Start off by going to, let's say, Suncorp, helping with cleaning the beds, going to the um, to the ships and helping those guys. Start off by volunteering. The more you volunteer, the more you get connections, the more you get to know people. Join webinars as well as events. Face to face is the best way to market yourself. Then, lastly, I've attached a homework thing for you guys to do. So there's two links will lead you to a test which will test your leadership style. So after you answer these questions wholeheartedly and truthfully, it will show you what type of leader you are so that you know when you go into a project what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. I've also attached a personality test to see what type of personality you are, how your personality works, and how you can work in a group. So these two are quite important. So please, when you get the slides, do the two tests. So that is it from my side. Fast and sweet, right?
Thanks so much, Tafad. I know it's quite difficult to actually force project management into an hour webinar, but you did better than most would. So I do have one question, and this is from Tekelo, and basically she
Ye-
said she found
Yes.
that Gantt charts are not so useful. She often finds that it's useful in the beginning, but then it kind of tapers off. Um, are there alternatives to this? How do you ensure that you stick to the Gantt chart throughout, for example, a year?
Okay, cool. So as I said, Gantt charts, they worked earlier on in project management when people still had a lot of focus and concentration, etc. So now we use applications. You can try out your Monday.com, Asana, Notion. The list is project is big, you just try out and you see which one is an interface which you'd like as a group or as an organization. So the nice part about those tools is that they send out
His sound seems to have gone. While his sound is still recovering, I'm going to share the polls of the session. And then I also just wanted to add, I don't know if he's coming back. Okay, there the poll is live. So continue, you can interact with the poll and vote on the poll. You'll see the last question has to do with the next session, which was going to be science communication, but then the person who's actually running that session is traveling. So we've replaced that for now. So it'll follow the science communication session will happen in May, but the next session is actually on data analytics. And I know how important that is, especially within the polar and marine fields, because a lot of us are using different tools like R, like Python, like MATLAB. So having a handle on that is quite important. So we have two speakers. One is actually an ocean products developer from SAP, Seon slash Somisana. And then we also have a data expert who's based under Seon and Sapri as well. And they'll also tell you a bit about data curation, what makes good data, what makes a good figure. So that's quite important. I wouldn't miss that. So just pick the date which you prefer there. The one on the 23rd, you'll see is not in the usual 1 o'clock slot, which we have it in. And that's just because at 1 o'clock, a lot of the people in the Western Cape also have the option of attending the donut talk. I don't know if everyone has access to that talk. You could probably reach out to Sancor and they could tell you a bit more about that. Just checking if Tafadz was active. Okay, not yet. So then also what I wanted to add is a lot of us that are post grads at university don't understand the resources that are available to them when it comes to planning a thesis or dissertation. So, for example, a lot of the if not all the libraries of each university have licenses to certain tools that can actually help you. So, for example, what I found quite useful was some programs like RefWorks, which help you sort your references out. And I know at the end of a thesis, references can become a pain. So putting in that work, trying to get your references sorted in the beginning and doing something like RefWorks, which most university libraries have free access to and can actually help you try and understand it. I know a lot of universities run sessions also in library information systems, and they can actually teach you on how to use RefWorks. I can't remember the other one that's also frequently used, but tools like that are available to you, we don't normally know about them. Tafadzo, are you still available? Are you still online? Okay, maybe I could probably answer from my own experience. So yes, in the beginning, Gantt charts are useful, but you tend to forget about them just because you get so swamped with the current tasks that you are doing, you forget to actually go back. And I think that's where some tools like Jira are actually useful, because what you can do is get into the habit then of checking Jira every day, checking which tasks need ticking off, checking what tasks need to be added. And in that way, you kind of mitigate for loss of time, but also keeping track of the current projects you're on. Hopefully that answers the question. Um, and yeah, I think that's it. So if you guys have voted, thank you so much. We'll see you either on the 23rd or on the 30th. Thank you and bye.
Thanks, Wage. Thanks, Sabato. Bye, everyone.